Hello, this is Jeremy Murphy, and I am here today to talk to you about the concept of Frienducation. Some of you have perhaps never heard of this. I haven't heard of it until very recently, but I'm excited to hear about the concept, the mutuality of it. I think it's a powerful idea whose time has come. I think a lot of this can take place virtually, and it's something that can occur on Blab as a powerful tool to allow us to frienducate each other, if you will. So what is frienducation? Frienducation to me means the idea of friends educating each other. There's a mutuality involved. It's the idea of you teach me what you know, and I'll teach you what I know, and we walk away with a better rounded understanding, deeper knowledge base, deeper experience to draw from, and allows us to help people at a deeper level. And I'll explain why this is important. I'm a life coach, running coach, undergoing certification for a health coach right now, doing nutrition consulting. And I think for coaches in particular, there are common struggles and issues that clients and customers will encounter. And so I'm interested in trying to provide best practices for us to share with each other to boost the amount and ability of us to provide better customer care, to help people to have a deeper impact in their life, and to really help them deal with their struggles, issues, and challenges in a better way. I think a lot of these challenges are common, and I think if we recognize that and share that information, I think that could be very valuable. So my idea, and I will change the topic in a little bit to flesh this out a little bit. I do want to welcome Carla and Christian for joining me. Thanks for jumping in today and at least to listen. But we're here to discuss the concept of frienducation. And I mentioned earlier, it's friends helping each other learn, to realize that we're lifelong learners, that learning doesn't stop when we get a degree. And for me, when I finished my legal education, I said, no more tests. I'm not going to take any more tests. And then I started pursuing other online courses, taking a running coach certification, passing that test, taking health coach classes right now. And there's a test involved with that. So yes, Carla, you're certainly welcome to take a seat if you like. I'd be happy to make you a co-host. I think we have a lot in common, with trying to blend the positivity that I'm providing and the laughter that you provide. And actually, Carla, I'm glad you're here because I wanted to tell you that I have laughter medicine I have to do for my laughter homework to do for my health coach class this week. And I think I already did it. I just had to tell them a funny story or something that always makes me laugh. So for me, it was and hi, Carla, welcome. Good to see you.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. I know that usually you do want a co-host, so I thought I'm here right now. I don't know how long I'm staying.
Okay, that's fine. And I don't know how long this will go either. I know there's some people with very significant interest in this in different respects, and I don't know if their schedules will allow them to jump in. I know I have good friends that are hosting blabs right now, and I always feel bad about hosting a blab at the same time. You don't want to miss out on someone. But yeah, I shared my laughter story that I shared. My grandma had a canister of buttons, and there are probably, I don't know, 500 buttons in there or whatever, different sizes, shapes, textures. And I was allowed to play with them as long as I didn't, spill them all out on the ground. Too curious or accidentally spilled them all. And, my grandma got very angry at me. I mean, there are 500 buttons all over her carpet and all this. And after she realized how funny that was, she just started laughing and laughing and laughing and laughing. And, then I realized I wasn't in trouble anymore. And so I started laughing too. And so anyway, that was the laughter assignment that I had to share with my health coach class this week to fulfill my homework for the week. We actually had a laughter assignment. So, but we just had to say a story tell a story that always makes us laugh. So that was mine, the button story. So, and I'm sure we all have stories like that trigger that kind of humorous response, right?
Yes.
I'm sure you have stories like that too, or stories that are funny to you in your own. We all have different senses of humor too. That's sometimes the difficulty with trying to figure out what common humorous things we might find that we might both find humorous, and not just one person instead of the other. So. But what I wanted to talk about today, Carl, is, friends educating each other and figuring out how we could do that, especially using a virtual platform like Blab. Just allows us to connect with people around the world, to receive instantaneous feedback and responses, to allow us to share best practices with people on how people can really dig out of the issues they run into with, just all kinds of things, depression, life changes, unable to shift their perspectives because someone hasn't shifted it in the right way, just kind of reframing things, figuring out what your true path in life is, that kind of thing. And I think, if we share knowledge on that, I think that's what I'm looking at trying to create, is to figure out how to create something like, I would call it a creative contrarian coaches circle, where creative coaches around the world could unite online and in person. They would have to be contrarian. They would have to not just be satisfied with the conventional wisdom. I want independent coaches that are able to think on their own, and they could be life coaches, health coaches, nutrition people, running coaches. I mean, anything that has a coaching title. But it would allow coaches to serve as teachers to each other. And I think if we do that, we just learn so much more about what's being done and working effectively in other parts of the world, and allows us to come together in kind of a circle online. And coaches have, annual requirements for continuing education, just as we as attorneys do. I mean, it's one of the things that attorneys actually hate the most. The fact that, we have this annual legal education and we have to do this. And, that's, in fact, some of it we have to do in person, which is strange because pharmacists don't have to do it, all their pharmacy education in person. My wife doesn't have to do all that in person, but we as attorneys do. So, but that's what I'm looking at, trying to create, trying to find creative coaches around the world that can display their creativity, either in writing, in virtual teaching, in, some maybe will be very skilled speakers as opposed to writers. Some maybe have written books, but that can demonstrate that they're contrarian, that they're not afraid to challenge the conventional wisdom. I don't want a bunch of cookie cutter coaches that are not going to be able to think on their own. I want people that are independent, because then we can have a broader knowledge base, and we can share best practices. We can figure out what struggles and issues our clients are dealing with, and really how to better deliver high quality content that will help transform lives. And so I think these coaches would have to be transformational and be able to demonstrate that, either as life coaches, health coaches, et cetera, I wouldn't limit it to life coaches. I wouldn't limit it to health coaches, but they'd have to be some kind of coach or teacher. Maybe some wouldn't use that label. Maybe some would use teacher or mentor or advisor. I guess I'm trying to think of different titles people would use, but I'm trying not to be too narrow-minded with this. But I do want to try to create something like this, collecting a sort of at least a small group to start of creative contrarian coaches that could teach each other and create sort of an academy to teach each other basic skills in coaching, and then to move people to mastery. And I think if we talk about mindset and motivation and using positivity, humor, laughter, I mean, that is so critical. I mean, Carla, I've been with the health coach class I'm taking, I'm learning more and more about how important laughter is, and that it's the best medicine, and all the therapeutic effects it has. And it's free. we don't have to go out and get a prescription. I mean, and maybe some doctors are funny enough to actually put that in a prescription pad. You should tell a couple jokes today and laugh, because it'll boost your endorphin level and create other positive changes.
Or you should do a laughter meditation.
True.
Do a laughter meditation twice a day.
Mm-hmm.
Carla. No, you know.
Yeah, the tough thing, Carla, is for us to remind ourselves to do that. We get so caught up in what we have to do and how quickly we have to do it, and we don't have time for this, we don't have time for that, and we don't have time to laugh, and then we realize, boy, I haven't laughed in more than a week.
But the truth is, Jeremy, you don't have any time not to laugh.
You're right. And what happens if we don't do that, Carla? What happens with the pattern of our lives?
Very tense. You lose your ability to look at life clearly.
Mm-hmm.
You need to go within. You need to bring that joy. Hi, Kristen.
Hey.
You need to bring that joy that's from within out into the world.
Right.
You can only do that by deciding, I'm going to smile. I'm going to be myself more than make someone else happy.
Yeah.
And I don't want to steal this, so I won't go to the next step.
I'm happy to see you, Carla.
I'm happy to see you. Come tonight and laugh with me.
Yes, she did Jeremy, she did I don't think you were on a call. She did laughing meditation. I think that was the last time I laughed that much in a while. So it was very fun.
Cool.
And
good.
Yeah. But no, I like the idea. I like the idea, Jerry, that you're putting together. I think it's a great idea. I'm actually thinking about. Well, I'm not thinking about it. I already made my decision. So I'm going to get into coaching. I kind of do it naturally anyway. And so I was just talking to a group of coaches earlier today on another blab, and they were giving me some pointers and everything. But one thing I wanted to talk about was your Frienducation idea.
Sure.
And so I've been studying Napoleon Hill, learning about masterminds, and it's a similar idea. And so this is just a suggestion. So there's a networking group that I'm part of on, it's a platform called Zoom, I believe. And what they do is they meet once a week, and, you can have, I don't know, however many people you want in the room, and one person presents. And then at the end, I guess they can all comment and talk about it. And so when you were talking about having a group of coaches come together for a furthering education, you can have one coach possibly, put together an idea they want to share, out of the box idea, and then the coaches can build or, talk about it and critique it or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
so anyway.
A good idea. Yeah, more and more coaches and others are ending up on Zoom, and then sometimes continuing that on appear.in is, I guess, the other platform that I think some are using that a lot of people are trying to become more comfortable with. And how to figure out how to deliver that. I mean, with with Skype, you have limitations. You can only really present to about 25 at a time, unless you have one of the, the super duper accounts. I think maybe you allow 50 or something, but then they give a cost issue sometimes for other people that might want to participate. And I guess I'm trying to find ways that we can deliver basic content for free and allow those of us with some expertise in certain areas to maybe charge some kind of premium rate, but you're leveraging. The idea is we're leveraging our time and our talent and our experience, and we're delivering it online primarily. So I think we're able to provide it more, to more people, and instantaneously, assuming that the technology works. I see that someone mentioned the possibility of Hangouts on Air. I just got an email saying Hangouts on Air are down right now at Google+, which is a huge issue because you have thousands of or more people relying on that as their primary way of communicating with video content. So I think that indicates why it's so important that we can't rely on any one platform without having a backup in case we have there are days that Blab has a hiccup. And, so we have to, and then I guess we all run to Zoom or Appear.in or to Google Hangouts, maybe if Blab has that hiccup. But, and I'm not sure, Blab still, I think it's great for delivering the free content, but how we deliver it, the premium content in more of a mastermind capacity, the small circle is kind of what I'm thinking, where we decide what's the ideal size of a mastermind to be able to deliver premium knowledge and content, and how do you make sure everyone participates and gets something out of it. And and then there's the added issue of you're in a mastermind and you find you're the smartest one in the mastermind, you're not learning anything anymore. And I just went through this myself. I wasn't getting anything out of the mastermind anymore. It just kind of became, it seemed like things were stuck in the mud, and I kept looking at what Napoleon Hill wrote in Think and Grow Rich, and it just seemed like it wasn't true to that. Yeah, it wasn't true to that model. It was in title and all that, but it just wasn't delivering really premium content anymore. It just kind of became this exists, but it doesn't do very much. And I don't think that's really what a mastermind should be. I think it should be more, like having a weekly discussion or Christian, like what you said, having a weekly teaching by one of the participants, and we could rotate that, and then you get some idea what everyone's expertise is, and that just gives us a deeper knowledge base and allows us to deliver content more powerfully, more quickly. I think it would have a very meaningful impact on people's lives too, not just on the participants, but also on all the people that those coaches or teachers are dealing with on a daily basis, clients, customers. And ultimately this is about providing a new paradigm of customer care, to say, you're the customer, what do you need? How can we serve you better? Not just how can we help you, but how can we serve you better and in a more meaningful way? Bill, I want to welcome you. I see that you've joined us. Feel free to hop in a seat if you like. We've been talking about Frienducation and masterminds a little bit, how we can leverage our time, our talent, our ability, our experience, deliver quality content at a basic level and also at a premium level for those of us with advanced knowledge. For example, I've been an attorney for 22 years. I don't practice anymore, but if you want to know everything I know about the law, I can teach it to you if you like. I can teach you about philosophy. I have a philosophy major. I can teach you about Stoicism. People have become very interested in that topic on this platform. That surprised me. I held a blab where I talked about that. I thought there would be very few people showing up, that it'd be one of these crickets blabs, and it was completely the opposite. I shut it down, and we were off the record for 2.5 hours talking to people about everything, not just Stoicism, but everything. I found that it really connected with the audience. And so, finding the right topics that connect with people in that meaningful way on how we can help them break through issues, struggles, challenges that they're facing. I think that's very valuable. But there has to be a mutuality element of this without it being a quid pro quo situation, without saying, well, I'm going to teach you this, and then you have to teach me everything you know. And, well, that's not really, we don't want it to be a quid pro quo. We want it to be a giving, us giving of ourselves what we know and experience and knowledge, and having others provide it because they want to, not because they have to. Right.
Well, I know Charlene. I think she does a good job of filtering out, people, and I think that's something that you want to. It's not necessarily exclude people, but including people that add value and that intend to add value. So you have an application process. What are you trying to accomplish in your business? Or your coaching career. What are you trying to learn? What do you think you can contribute to the group? Because when you ask those kind of questions, it gets people in the mind, first of all, to understand. We want people who are really, wanting to gain from this group and also wanting to give to the group. And you have your little interview, and then I think those kind of questions and those guiding principles will make sure that you get people in the group. And also, if you're the leader, so I mean, I don't know, you got to interview people. That's how I feel about it. It's like, hey, just like you're a coach, you just ask your questions and you get the feedback, you get a feel for what kind of person it is. Can they listen? Can they take guidance, or will they, just try to dominate and just rule everything? And I think coaches are kind of sharing and they understand the benefit of listening. So you already have a group that's kind of presupposed to understanding how to manage, give and take. So, I think beyond that, it's just that shared principles that that everyone has, as far as we all want to give and gain from this Frienducation, And
right.
Yeah. But about the platform, I was going to say about the platform, I know Google should be up within a day. They probably have the best people in the world working on it. And, but yeah, I was just checking out Appear In, and it did look like you can only have 8 free people in a group.
Okay.
But
I didn't realize that Appear In had a limit. I thought it was a little more generous than that as far as what the limit. You said 8, limit of 8.
Well, it says for free. I'm just on the home page. It says video.
Okay.
Up to 8 people for free, so you can probably get more if you get a paid plan.
Sure.
And I think so this thing, I'm actually part of a group that's setting up something that may be similar to what you're talking about. And so, we have a smaller group that is going to be the inner circle, so to speak, that will be delivering the prime content and benefiting from it. And then that content will then be able to be given or sold to more people that, and so that's the idea. I think that's really, really similar. And that's why I wanted to kind of, and you can have, it says 25 people on a free conference call. Is this is Appear In he's talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Part of the difficulty with this is some of us are visual learners, some of us are auditory learners primarily, and some are kinesthetic learners. Some people want to feel and touch something to really get to know it. And something, like, for example, teaching someone music, teaching someone playing the piano, for example, there's an auditory part of it. It's not so much visual, but there's a lot of kinesthetic. You have to touch the keys correctly. Your fingers are curved playing certain types of piano music. But if you're playing French impressionistic music, if you're playing Debussy or Ravel, you've got to have flat fingers or you don't get the right effect. So there are little things like that, it's part of that is you see that from the teacher, but you have to touch the keys correctly. And I'm not sure that we can, that's why I'm still a little frustrated with musicians being able to teach each other globally. Just the lack of the kinesthetics being in the same room. I think is very powerful for people that are really trying to advance their musical talent. Although I think you can learn a lot just by listening, but you've got to be able to see the piano teacher's fingers and see how they're approaching the keys. That's a big deal if you're really serious about that. And I hope this isn't getting too technical, but I'm throwing that out as an example just to show us that depending on what you're talking about, it's going to make a difference. To some people are going to want the auditory learning primarily. Some are going to want the visual. If they can't see a picture to show them what you're trying to teach them, they're not going to grasp it. And if you're teaching them French impressionistic art and you're not showing it, how can you possibly learn it? Unless you're listening to French impressionistic music at the same time, possibly. Then there is reinforcement on impressionism between the art and music is very powerful. And I will have blabs on that. I have strong interest in French impressionistic art and music. And I think that interest goes worldwide. There's just a lot of people interested in that. But, and some people want kinesthetic learning, and delivering that on blab is really tough. I mean, you almost have to have the same props. And I don't mean that in a clapping sense over here on the right side. I mean holding up the little bird Twitter on a stick, or the squeeze ball to relieve stress. If we all grab that, I'm trying to think of what people would have in common. But
I'm listening to you, and I'm thinking. So the best, at least in my just from my brainstorm right here, way to deliver this sort of triple, impression education. You got your visual, you got your kinesthetic, and you got your auditory, is possibly through Zoom or what's the other one? Zoom, and I was thinking about Google Plus.
Oh, Google Plus, Google Hangouts, yeah.
Yeah, I've been using that a lot because I love. Yeah, I love the screen share, right? And so, because I had a client, and I just built her website, and she's wanting to know how to change the stuff around. And so, I called her on the phone. She's talking about, okay, where do I log in? How do I do that? I says, let's go to Google Hangouts, and I can show you, right? And so, the one piece missing from that is the kinesthetic. So you develop a worksheet, for your whatever you're teaching. So you have a PowerPoint, you're teaching it auditory, and you can email them a worksheet so they can take notes, follow along, get that information ingrained through note taking, because that's what I had to, when I was in school. I'm very kinesthetic as well. Sure. So unless I wrote down the notes, even though, it's in the book, I still have to write it down myself. That gets the information, kind of hard coded in my brain. So right. I think that's a good, beyond that, as far as props, you might have to work on like some kind of delivery, which would increase the cost, if you're trying to deliver props to people. But yeah, I think that's an idea that, I'm definitely going to use, is because I understand the same thing that you're saying. You want people to be able to grasp the idea however they learn best.
Right. Yeah, and I'm also thinking about people with disabilities. I have and to give you an example, I have a friend. He's on Google Plus primarily. He does a lot of Google Hangouts. He's a stroke survivor. He's very comfortable on Google Plus and the Hangouts. If he's just gotten used to that platform, it seems to work well for him, even with his, it's very rare that you even notice, him struggling on that platform. But on Blab, he's not as comfortable on camera. And so, one time he was on Blab, and I noticed that he was, trying not to be seen, but he didn't know how to shut off his video camera. So I want to be able to still allow people like that to participate in a meaningful way, even if it just means, they go to audio only, or, maybe they provide, maybe they can provide some kind of written summary by a link or something like that, where we can still get their information if they don't want to be on camera or don't want to be audio only either. Allows us to still link their information and allow people to learn, how could this guy help you, and all his SEO knowledge. And I have a strong interest in what he's doing because we have a common bond of positivity. Both of us are doing a lot with positivity. I'm doing the positivity patrol, and he's interested in really boosting what he's doing in positivity on Google Plus. And I'm trying to pull him back to this platform because I think he's resonating a great deal on Google Plus, but I think he could resonate here more potentially if he wanted to. But he's going to have to make the choice what he's more comfortable with. But we're going to have other people with disabilities. There are people with all kinds of disabilities.
People with disabilities on web.
Yeah. And
I admire them because it takes a lot of chutzpah.
It does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know Michael.
I mean, I'm not trying to put them down, but I'm an old special ed special ed teacher, and I would encourage my kids, you got to do what you want to do, and don't be afraid of what people are thinking.
Yep.
So Jeremy, tell me about this positivity patrol. I've seen it in one of the titles before, but I think I missed your explanation of it.
Yeah, I created this back in August, and what I'm trying to do is to unite people around the world with using positivity to solve problems, to shift perspectives, and to really allow people to move the right direction, to adjust our polarity so that we find that we're inclining towards the negative side, that we flip it or just move to the other side entirely if we can, and to recognize when our friends and families are, throwing negative cues out there, we pick up on that and we find we just start reinforcing it. Really to be more mindful about being positive, to share it with the world. And I'm trying to find people on all 7 continents to help me with this. And in every country I can make contact to find people that we can work together with peace and goodwill, explain what positivity is, see how other people are teaching it, spreading it in other countries, and to really try to spread it worldwide. Because if you look at the media, if you look at the news, I don't want to know the bad news every day. I understand that bad things happen, but doggone it, I want to know what happened good today. I want to know the good news every day. And if I'm not getting that from some source, I've got to come up with something. And if it's not positive enough, I've got to find a way to spin it in my mind to make it inclined towards that positive polarity. And if it can get to that point, then, maybe we can produce a daily positivity electronic newspaper or something. Just maybe I'll compile that, getting positive, inspiring stories from around the world. Because let's face it, if we don't have things like that, we're just going to be inclined towards chaos, destruction, trouble, negativity, self-doubt, lack of self-confidence, and that leads to all kinds of other problems. If you start to doubt yourself and you don't have self-confidence in what you're doing, you're going to struggle. And I think all of us have had moments where we have at least momentary doubt. But I'm trying to create a worldwide movement and aligning with others that are what I would call positivists. So some of them are using different language, but I think we can agree that we're positivists. Can we agree that positivity is out there and exists and that it should be spread in every way possible? And so when the media and the mass media is reporting all this negative news, yes, we have to process that bad things happen. And yes, we have problems. I don't want to deny that, but we have to be stronger and more resilient than that. And we don't have to, we don't have to watch the news every night. We can curate the news from our Twitter feeds if we want to. We can listen to podcasts where they deliver the news in 80 seconds or 60 seconds or 30 seconds. Pick the length of your soundbite. But yeah, just the negativity in the news and mass media just got to such an extent that I had to stop watching the news. I couldn't take it anymore. And I can't even read the newspaper anymore. It's too negative. I guess I have to create my own positivity, good news newspaper, and maybe that's not going to be the final title, but I'd love to do something like that on maybe a daily basis might be tough, but weekly might be okay. What's that, Carla?
Why don't we do a podcast on Blab with just good news coming out? You know, something you see in your house or something you see, you know, in your neighborhood, something good happening.
Yeah. And Bill, that's a good title, the good news of the day. You know, and people, we have this question we ask each other. We say, what's the good word? What's the good word today? And some people, some friends of mine will require that be one word. It can't be two. It has to be one. And that's tough because you have to chop a good word off, and maybe the word you chop off is more positive than the other one. So you have to choose
I think that podcast is a great idea. I actually do podcasts, and I was running today, and I'm thinking, okay, I want to change up the format. I want to get people coming in and talking, and, you know, taking Carla's idea, you can, you know, I say, okay, let's have this good news of the day podcast, and everybody who, you know, wants to contribute can come in. You have 3 minutes or, you know, 3 to 5 minutes to share your good news story, you know. And then each person cycles out and you make it a 20-minute, 30-minute podcast, and there you go. Yeah, I think what you're talking about, Jeremy, is so on point. It's so in line with my passion in life. A short synopsis about me and why I do what I do is that when I was young, I was, you know, influenced by the culture, you know, and most of the culture, music included, mainly for me, music. And, you know, just what was going on around me focuses on negativity, you know. And so, you know, why life is hard, how life is hard, how we're all going to make it through this hard life, et cetera, and everybody's getting killed and all this stuff, right? And so it just makes you adapt to it, you know. Like you said, people were programmed to think and focus on the negative. And so, you know, when you focus on the negative, you kind of, you know, you produce the negative, right? You know, whatever you focus on grows. And so when things started getting really hard in my life, I said, okay, this is unacceptable, you know? And so I did, at the same time, I was studying, you know, philosophy and psychology and religions, et cetera. And focusing on that allowed me to change my thinking. And the same thing you're saying, I listened to the same music, but I translated it different. Everything they said, I changed it to mean something positive, right? And then after a while, I just got tired of listening to it. So I can't listen to this anymore. I got to find something better. So I ended up having to either make my own music, like you said, stop watching the news, make my own stories. I went to school for broadcast media technology, and I have the same passion for you to just create positive media, curate positive media, distribute it, make it a trend, you know, because you're not the only one. There's a growing majority of people who are just fed up and tired of this negativity being constantly shoved down our throats, but there's very few alternatives, right? There's very few because it does sell, you know. We're all programmed to survive, so if they make you scared of something, you're going to naturally pay attention to it. But
that's true. Fear is a very powerful motivator, isn't it? For good or for ill, either one.
Right. And they're using it. Go ahead, Carla.
Fear is love turned upside down, and people are afraid to love. People are afraid to give. And we need to do that more often and more so. And this is a great conversation, a much needed conversation.
It's all about creating separation, right? Fear and separation. And like you said, love and giving is a connection, right? And so when you're able to focus on love and giving, you're able to bring connection instead of separation, because separation is the only reason for the fear and violence. If you think about it, it's always the other, you know, anybody other than me, separate from me, I can now harm. But if I see them as part of me and connected to me, I wouldn't do them no harm. I'm not going to do no harm to my family because I see them as part of me. And once you.
However, I'm sorry. Go on.
No,
I got it.
No, I'm interested in the conversation, because this is where, when I was doing a lot of community work in Boston, and that's the idea, is we have to see ourselves first as a community, as connected, as everything that happens in this environment affects all of us, right? And so what we're talking about now is changing our social environment, right? And
on all platforms, not just on this one, on all of them.
Right.
I'm interested in this because well, for many reasons, but our daughter is a tween. She'll be a teenager very soon, and I see things that are going on that are very negative on all social media. I don't want to see that happen to her or anyone else. I want all these platforms to be safe. There is no one who should have reason to fear on any social media platform. But with the negative things that are getting thrown around, and hatred, and just ridiculous things that are, even thrown at me, that I have no idea where these things come from. Although the more positive you are, the stronger the negativity is going to get thrown back at you with cannonballs. And I am not kidding. Sometimes when it comes back, I just say, what? Right. Can't you just fire that off into the ocean instead of shooting it at me? I just try to duck and dodge the cannonballs and let them fly by. It's not always possible. Sometimes they graze me.
That's when you have a wonderful position where you can either decide to smile or frown.
You're right.
And when you decide to make that smile or turn that around, that's when we begin changing the world from the negativity to the positivity. It's really important for us to begin to see that and change it from the negativity. And we can do it with a smile. Like the person who was on your blab the other night, who I needed to really work with to smile, he did smile. He did laugh. But the reason I'm bringing it up is that it was getting a little negative in there, and that changed things around for them.
Yeah. And that's, people will even remind us in the chat, if we're not smiling enough, if we're not doing that. There are people who will tell us that in loving and caring ways, usually. And I appreciate that. I mean, I'm not sitting here watching myself, looking at whether I'm smiling enough. If someone else is conscious of that and they're kind enough to tell me that, I'm going to respond to that as long as I see the comment. Sometimes you get involved in the conversation. It's hard to go back and forth. It's like a tennis match, sort of. But
and that's why I love Carla, because just seeing, when I saw that she had I was actually in the shower first. I heard that she had came into the room. It just made me smile. It made me think, okay, you got to remember to smile, and I just think that is such a positive thing, because a lot of times, like you said, we're not conscious of it. We're not, we don't see our face, and everyone else looking at your face, like, hey, what's wrong with him? You may be thinking or whatever, but I do want to make it a part of my habit to just be, my resting face, to have a slight grin on it, or something that doesn't repel people, It's like, but no, definitely, I think
something in relationship to that. There's someone in the blab right now who didn't have a picture of him or herself, because I don't know if you're female or male. I just know you're there. And when I saw that, I told her immediately, or him, I hope you don't mind, that there should be a picture so we know who it is. And as I started watching what he was saying, I thought, oh, this guy is okay. There's no problem. But the fact that I reacted to that really made me think, what am I looking at? Am I looking at the person, or am I giving a chance for a relationship to grow? And it's not, I allowed it to change. by watching his comments.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that I reacted originally like that was not the best of things. And I think we need to be a little more open to people coming in. I know Jeremy and I have talked about the eggheads that come.
Yeah.
This person didn't have an egghead. He had a very pretty flower, possibly.
Okay.
But, I reacted to it, and after I saw what he was saying and what he was contributing, I had no problem saying to him, "Why didn't you come in?"
Oh, cool.
I love that logo.
Yeah.
I absolutely love your logo. I want you to know that. Where are you from?
It's interesting.
Yeah, anyone, if you want to tell us where you're from in the chat, please go ahead and do. It'll give us an interesting blend of knowing where people are from.
Joe Carter,
Yes.
come on in.
Trying to come in.
Yes, he's got to hit those yes buttons.
We did.
I did hit it, and
No, not you. I mean him, because especially if it's. I think it might be his first time.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
maybe.
Yeah, Joe, have you? You might have to allow your camera up on the upper right of your HTTP line. If you have a Mac, can you hear us? It's not
Accept
asking.
permission. Yeah. Come
Yeah.
out and come back again. It'll ask you, and then don't hit the because my mistake is always to hit the no or yes. Tell your friends first, and if you do that, it's gonna the other one's gonna go away, and then you're just stuck with the X.
And I'm one of your friends.
He's
so.
getting it, I think.
Yeah, and I don't know. We still don't see you. So I think there is a camera permissions tab up on the.
If you go,
are you on a Mac or on a Windows device? In the address bar, yes, it's on the right where the camera is. Right? Is that right?
On the top, it's going to.
Click on the camera icon, and then it shows allow permission for video, and or you can block the camera and microphone access, in which case we can't see you or hear you. So please don't do that if you want to participate. If you do want to participate in this Frienducation experiment, please continue to allow Blab to access your camera and microphone, or you can just choose to do audio only if you wish. I mean, that's a possibility. I'm on a Mac device, so my Windows PC knowledge is very limited at this point since I've left that platform behind, except on my treadmill is an Android device. You can believe that. But
oh, cool.
Joe, I don't know.
So I have a PC, and it's top left.
Okay.
On the top left, I have Firefox, so that's where the camera is on the edge of the address bar.
Okay. Are you, Joe, are you using Chrome? I think they advise people use Chrome ideally for, okay.
Chrome,
yeah, I think it's just the address permission on the HTTP bar and the address bar. You just click on that camera icon and then tell it what you want the camera to do. Choose which microphone and camera you want to use. Sometimes people use an external mic. Sometimes they use a different. We'll try again.
Okay, here he comes again.
Mm-hmm.
Huh, nothing. Well, I don't know what to say. I think we've.
Joe, do you have a lock in your address bar?
Take the tape off of the camera. There could be. Some people do have tape down there, Bill.
I
that's.
did. I did.
I'm going to have to keep
Blab.
a sticky note on the other side in case my whole family comes in at once, and I don't want to have all of them on camera in the middle of something, depending on how many family members or whether the dog is jumping over my shoulder or something. That happens from time to time. But
what kind of dog?
What?
What kind of dog?
English setter.
Oh, they're beautiful.
They are.
Cohen.
Yep. Yeah, we're frequently asked, is she a Dalmatian? And we say, no, she has a lot of spots, but no, English setter. But it's a common question. Joe, can you hear us?
Can you hear my mic?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Well, there you go. But I don't know what. I didn't know I could talk, so I was.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't.
I'm not,
feel free.
I have permissions according to the, to the lockdown. It's got permissions for my camera. It's got So
okay.
Let me.
Oh, glad you're here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here too, and I'm willing to just let you talk if you want to do. If your picture shows up, sometimes with spotty internet, pictures will fade in and out, and I've had that happen this past weekend with hotel Wi-Fi. So.
Yeah, that should not be my issue. I don't know what's going on. I've been on Blabs before, a number of them, so I don't know. I really don't know what's going on here. But
you know what, Joe? Why don't you try refreshing your computer and coming back in?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's see what I'll first. I'll try refreshing this page. I hate to hijack the room for tech issues, but I'm sure this is not your first rodeo either. You probably had to do this before.
Oh, no. Don't worry about that. The important thing is we want tech issues to be resolved for everyone to be allowed to participate, and we don't want to have anyone not able to participate for that reason. So
now it's asking me to reload. So sure. I should be able to get back in next time. Hopefully.
Okay.
Be right back.
All right.
I am going to go out for a moment, but just because there's something I want to do on my phone, and then I'll come back.
Sounds good.
Okay. Oh, so I will come back if the seat is there. If not, I'll talk from the sideline.
Sounds good. Thanks, Carla. Appreciate it. Good to see you.
I'm not leaving you for good, and I'm still a hoot. I will still be on your sideline.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. All right. Okay, Joe, we can. You're in the square. We can hear you, I think, but we can't see you, and I'm fine with that. I'm not going to make you do this endlessly. So,
sorry about that, guys.
Go ahead. What?
The thing that I found, I was trying to get a flavor for the full breadth and scope of what the positivity patrol thing was about. It sounds very intriguing, certainly in line with my values. So I'm wondering if you could elaborate a little bit on what it is that people do. I mean, in pragmatic sense, do they buy the next cup of coffee? Do they get involved in humanitarian efforts? Or, I mean, just what is the scope, if you don't mind?
Yeah, well, the sky's the limit. I'm writing a book right now called The Positivity Patrol, and I'm on chapter 3. It's mapped out as a 10-chapter book. So, I mean, some of this will be fleshed out in the book, but I think some of it comes down to gratitude, to showing people positivity with random acts of kindness, with a smile, with laughter, with support, encouragement. Really, what I try to do, and I imagine maybe Christian, maybe you and some others do this. I look for who's struggling, who needs help, who's, and not only those who are asking for it, but those who look like they might need it, even on the side or on a volunteer basis. If they can't afford to pay me for it. I mean, I do want to be able to deliver some of what I do, without requiring people to pay me. I think that's important. I think we all have obligations as humans to serve other people as humans, and not always for money.
I think you could do it for self-interested reasons. My gosh, the fact is, when we allow children to grow up in these incubators of isolation, betrayal, and apathy, and parasitic and predatory behaviors, that just sets the tone for what they recognize reality to be, and then it echoes back on our own person. So I think that you can approach it not only from a humanitarian and altruistic perspective, but certainly a self-interested perspective. When we don't unlock a person's full potential, we rob ourselves of that potential. So I'm saying that no matter where you are on the spectrum of selfish or whatever, if you want to cultivate a better experience of life, you have to recognize that's contingent on community.
True. Yeah, and that community, creating that correct. Are you hearing an echo?
I am not, but I suspect it's probably me, and I will kill it right now by putting headphones on.
Okay, I was going to ask. We can't see your headphones or lack of headphones. I was going to ask. You answered the question. Better? Yes.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. It creates a better recording if we can try to eliminate echoes when they occur and to awaken the echoes within ourselves to achieve our goals. I'll weave that back into the conversation.
Yeah.
I give credit to the Notre Dame fight song, "Awaken the Echoes" line. I'm probably not. That's paraphrasing. My brother will kill me for doing that.
Brutally paraphrasing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joe, I think that's a great point. I used to have to convince very pragmatic people of the benefit of this, of contributing to community, of developing people less fortunate than yourself. And that is the final argument. We're all in this city or this community or this world together. And everybody's action affects everyone else eventually. Like the idea hurt people. So if you just allow people to continue living hurt, it's going to continue spreading. You just can't ignore it, like as we're seeing in world events now. Pain is just being replicated, and so I think this idea is really to replicate the positivity, replicate healing, replicate compassion and empathy for each other, and just because it does come to that recognition that at the end of the day, we're all on the planet, we all living together. So as you expand your view, you recognize that, even though it sounds cheesy, we're all one.
Well, that's a great point, Christian. And I'll say this: I think we are all meant to be ambassadors of peace and goodwill throughout the world. And all I'm looking to do is to combine that with positivity. And if we're allowed to deal with each other with that kind of mutual respect and responsibility, really being compassionate and caring enough for the outcome of other people's lives, that we take the time to help them and to recognize when they need help, both when they're asking for it and maybe when they need it, but they don't want to ask or they're embarrassed to ask, but you can sense. Intuition will tell us sometimes, and my sense of that is very powerful, when someone needs my help. They'll just be sort of trying to tell me something, or how can I help you? Or more powerfully, how can I serve you? What are your needs, goals? What's your mission in life? So,
and I think that's one of the things that's attracts me to coaching, is because at least this is how I've done it regularly throughout my life, is just the adjustment. It's the adjustment of the mindset mainly that people need, right? And so that's what you were talking about earlier about the polarity from negativity to positivity. So if whatever the issue they're dealing with is, usually they have a mindset that needs to be readjusted towards the positive side. So you just kind of have to give them evidence and guided conversation to move them back to the positive vision of that particular issue in their life. And then as we continually do this, like all my close friends throughout time, I eventually did this until they had a consistent positive outlook. So they would, I was really sneaky about it. I knew what I was doing, so every time they came at me, oh, my girlfriend this or that, I'd be like, well, what attracted you to her in the first place? Get them thinking along the positive lines of, their values and the things they like about these people. And then they're able to naturally heal their relationship because they're coming from that viewpoint.
True.
So I think, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little itch in my throat, but
that's all right.
Yeah, I think that's one of the ways that I like to contribute to society. Even just adjusting, even in that conversation. If we're having a conversation, if you're on a blab with somebody, or like Carla was saying, oh, it's really getting negative in here. How can I, change the conversation to a positive space?
Yeah, that tone really makes a big difference, because if it spreads, it's contagious, and if it spreads throughout the world, we have some big problems. maybe what I'm looking at doing is creating really an alternative to the mass media. And if we educate and teach each other how to be positive, I think that can be replicated and taught, like you're saying, Christian. We can replicate that model, teach it to other people, and for people that really need major help with their mindset, I mean, some of those people might require more of a master's level life coaching to break through the obstacles and problems they have. So for some of us, we just need a little shift. For others, you need, if you're going through a crisis or chaos that's unexpected, especially, a lot of those people require major coaching from someone that really knows what they're doing.
Right. I'm actually studying that. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think one of the challenges that we all face is that it's easier to burn a house down than it is to build one up. It takes a lot of coordinated effort to build it up and only one match to burn it down. But that also gives you the context for how precious and delicate that valuable community, the emergent nourishment and all of that comes out of community is. So I think if we can get that across, I also think that there are people that have been stung, particularly if it was at critical periods in their lives, where we're more susceptible to the influence of trauma and or abuse, and that we can develop a behavioral momentum where we're not really making choices, but we just cultivate our familiar environment and all of that. And so pulling people out of that free fall and object constancy on self-defeat can be a real challenge. You need to have surround yourself with a new environment and get focused on nourishing relationships and cultivating them. And some of us can't even conceive of that, let alone orchestrate it in any kind of disciplined way in our lives.
Yeah, that's, the people, we have to really look at who is influencing us in our mindset. And it's interesting you bring up the burning down the house or lighting one match example, because I think of positivity, I think can be spread throughout the world like wildfire. All that has to happen is for each of us to light that flame of positivity within ourselves and to spread it candle by candle throughout the world. Now we have to make sure that we're all going to have times where we feel like we're lacking that, where we're falling into negative patterns or self-defeat, like you said, Joe, and, but to be able to recognize that for others and create a network of help, a support system for each person so that we're not overwhelming the healthcare system. So doctors are not overwhelmed with patients that need help and unable to fulfill their needs. And I think if we create this cadre of positivists around the world, I think we're standing in the gap and providing help in a meaningful way, kind of on an on-call basis. And some would be teaching people how to do this for others, and maybe some would be the master teachers teaching, people that need big time shifts in perspective. And I've been through that in my own life, where you realize you're definitely going the wrong direction and you need to move away from negativity, and you have all these negative friends and people that are condescending towards you or putting you down and that type of thing. But I think we all have to say, enough. I'm not going to take it anymore. If that's how you're going to be, I'm going to put you, at arm's length from me and put you in an outer circle in my life.
You can't grow corn in the Mojave Desert.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely got to fire people from your life. When you guys were talking, I was thinking about how people recover from drugs and alcohol. They have to join the community. They have to get away from that old community. They can't go around the same places. They can't talk to the same kind of people. Even if they do have to live in the same place, they definitely don't associate with the same people. They have a whole new group, a whole new support group that they talk to and that starts to see them and react to them in different ways than the old way, So that's, you're talking about that positive environment, that social environment, I think is key when you're talking about transformation of this mindset. And when you're talking about this cadre around the world, I'm imagining a model I drew for a similar idea where, the individual or the group goes around and creates these little communities, and then they become self-sustaining. So, it's, you have the principles around which is built, we're going to support each other in positivity. And, are you guys familiar with the positive psychology coaching?
I've heard of it, but as someone who is a philosophy major, I lean towards more of the philosophy side. Although I read a lot of positive psychology, but I'm more of a philosophy person personally. So I think it's valuable.
It's really in line with what you're talking about.
Right.
And so,
I agree.
So, because I got the book here I'm looking at called Positive Psychology as Social Change. And this is by, it's actually, I think it's a textbook. So Springer produced it. Robert Biswa-Diner is the author. But it talks about using positive psychology in organizations, with others, and for social change interventions. But positive psychology it's kind of new as a study, but it's the same thing people have been learning about in when they tell you focus on the positive, or religions and theosophy talks about the benefits of gratitude and forgiveness, etc.
Right.
But it's really focusing on, okay, what are the person's strengths? What are the benefits? What's good in this community? And let's focus on that. What's good in this organization, and focus on that. Because like we were talking about earlier, what's positive, expands and grows. And then as you build on your strengths, you're able to, what should I say, overcome your weaknesses, or,
right.
You have a positive momentum going forward.
Yeah.
I'll just connect. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. It's hard for me to understand where to jump in, but I think that we are biologically geared toward community, where the heart has to contribute something of nourishing value in the context of the community of organs it lives in, and vice versa for all of the organs in that connection. That mutually nourishing community of relationships, that's what sustains us. And there's no difference between that and how we are satisfied socially. And I think that when we're you can be a destructive giver, and there are people that fall on their sword and do the hokey pokey until they bleed to death. And then once that's happened, the other end of the destructive malignant, the destructive takers wonder who's going to make them a sandwich. And so the apathy and the destructive giving and the destructive taking at either end of the spectrum, sometimes that even fishtails through the generations. A narcissist will raise somebody that thinks their job is to please the unpleasable tyrant and all of that. So the point being that those things are the out of balance. And that is the very definition of illness, whenever our nourishing channels are cut off in some way.
Yeah, and it happens to all of us, and that's I guess the idea is to create enough lifelines that when they're needed, that someone can call for that life preserver to be thrown by someone else that's going to be able to, pull that person back to shore. So if people fall off the boat of life, that they're not shipwrecked. We can't give up on anyone. And that's become very important to me. I see too many people giving up on particular people that are going through life changes, career changes in particular, or people struggling with anxiety, stress, depression, or mental illness, or some combination of them. I mean, we didn't give up on anybody with any of those conditions, because those people need help maybe more than any of us in some ways. And some of that help can be provided in different ways, not necessarily all by doctors, nurses, other medical professionals, but also by coaches, by friends, by family members, by people who care, by people that can show their compassion and provide help when it's needed, and kind of serve as the safety net in a crisis situation. And if that safety net isn't there, we just have all kinds of terrible things happen. And I don't want to see them happen anymore. I've seen too many people fall, too many people falling into ditches, falling off the ship, feeling like there's no hope. People feel stuck in quicksand, and there is help for these people. And I think a lot of those obstacles that we feel we're going through, a lot of them are illusory, or we blow them out of proportion. It's a molehill moment, but we think it's a mountain because it feels like a mountain. We just, some things are blown out of proportion. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes you have a crisis, serious situation where they're not blowing it out of proportion, but they need help, and they need it provided in a different way. And maybe some of that can be done virtually through blabs, through masterminds, through creating the creative contrarian coaching circle that I'm talking about. I think the coaches that would participate in that, part of being contrarian would be that they would have to buck the conventional wisdom of thou must be negative. You would not be able to do that to be in this circle. You would be out. You would have to be positive. You would have to do everything in your power to remain positive. I mean, we have to have things in common to hold circles like this together, to make them work, and to allow us the potential of replicable, creating a stronger support network for everyone who needs help, and really figuring out who needs help and how we can deliver it, and raising the bar on what we as coaches and teachers can provide as far as teaching each other and best practices in improving the lives of everyone we touch in a transformational, powerful way, getting people going the right direction, and then allowing them, when the time is proper, a lot of those people will be able to take over those issues on their own. I'm not seeking to create a situation where you're coaching someone for life, but coaching them to the point where they're out of chaos. They realize which direction they're going the right direction. Their polarity is correct. Their inner circle has been stabilized with positive people. They have a support network. It's adequate. There are enough different people participating in it that if they need help, they can get it from any of those 10 or 12 people. Those people will be able to move on. And then it takes such a burden off the healthcare system, and we don't have people that are being over-medicated for anxiety, stress, depression, mental illness that perhaps could be treated in other ways that don't involve drugs. Right. We don't have to provide. This is ridiculous that we think that we go into the doctor's office and we can fix everything with a pill. You can't. Some things you can, but some things you absolutely can't. And so we have doctors over prescribing medicine and all this. And I'm trying to look at things in a different way, in a holistic way, in a positive way, where we're getting away from this model of just fixing all of our problems with pills. Mm-hmm. We need to fix our problems by changing our mindset, moving to positivity, and really being generous givers, being frienducators with each other, and not being the destructive givers that you were talking about, Joe. I think they're out there. There are people that are, they give with ulterior motives, and then those motives become obvious later, and those people, I don't think belong in their lives. I wasn't even
speaking to, there are those people, but I was speaking to the ones who are brought up and cultivated in a climate where they try to win the love of the impossible tyrant.
Okay.
Because that's the sort of the unspoken relational dynamic they're cultivated in. So then they go through life unconsciously looking for the unpleasable tyrants to frustrate themselves against. So.
Sure.
And I think what connects both of this idea is the need for harmony. I've been reading about harmony today, right? And so it's about having the harmony and peace and mind in yourself, and then in your your world. And so all disease is actually mentally based. It's from a disharmony or disalignment with something internally. It's like a mental disturbance, right? And so that disturbance, it creates tension or dis-ease in the body that, eventually manifests itself as a disease. And then when you're able to bring the mind into balance again, it will naturally balance the body. As all healers know, the body is, the nature actually heals itself. Your body is actually the thing that heals. Everything else is just assistance to that, right? It's trying to coax it or trying to get yourself back into alignment. That's the reason for prescriptions or whatever with the mental disease or whatever. And so I think I don't think a lot of people even know it's possible, first of all, to be in a place of peace of mind at a regular basis. You know, they're just constantly in a disturbed state. Like that's the cause. You know, news is one of the causes. You know, and
True.
following not, I don't want to say hereditary, but a societal or a program that, you know, may have been set up in the environment when they were raised. They think that's normal, you know.
Yeah.
That it's just normal just to be agitated, and you get, you know, then you have to kind of numb yourself or escape through some kind of TV program to find some kind of peace.
Right.
But I think at the end, you know, yes, I'm definitely familiar with Bruce Lipton's work.
I heard him echoing through your voice.
Yes, you know, it's like you, and I actually, you know, just not recently, but, you know, I've been through both phases in my life. So I can identify with, you know, being constantly disturbed and at dis-ease and just having very periodic moments of peace, you know.
Sure.
And a lot of times, it's at church or it's, you know, at a party, you know, or, you know, under the influence of something. And you think that, that's, you know, people live for the weekend, you know. Why can't you have peace every day for all, you know, and so I knew it was a possibility from studying Buddhism and all these other things. And I'm like, well, do I have to really go sit on a mountain? You know, I did a lot of meditation and all this other stuff. And I was like, I'm looking for a place to make this pragmatically applicable, you know. And so
Sure.
how do you translate this into a everyday living experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And still be able to go out here, make money and party with my friends and do all this good stuff. But be that internally at peace and be a light, you know. And so it took a long time for me to figure out how to do it for myself and set up a system. You know, I have a system basically. You know, I meditate. I have, you know, a positive, you know, thinking and, you know, etc. that I do. You know, and so I'm actually working on writing it down. You know, as far as a method that other people can adopt.
Sure.
But you know, it's not really all that complicated. I think first of all is knowing that it's possible, and then having the desire, and then, you know, working it out, you know. So that's what I did. But, you know, of course, I want to make it easier for other people. But I think what I'm actually getting to here, you know, the point is that harmony in yourself is actually possible. And then you can establish that harmony in your world. You know, it mirrors, you know, and so basically, if you have harmony in yourself, you're going to make harmony in your world. You know, it's like, my apartment, my household is going to be peaceful. You know, the people I deal with, you know, and if they're out of balance, like you say, if they need help, then that's where I'm able to offer some assistance. The best I know how. If I don't know how to, I try to point them to somebody who does, you know, or like, oh, you know, this coach does that, or that organization helps those kind of people, or, you know, I think that, you know, that's the best that I can do for, you know, because I know there's some people I can't help. You know, if you're addicted to crack, you know, I believe that you can be cured, and I believe, you know, I know you can, and I know how to do it, but I'm not the drug counselor, you know.
Yeah, so, and that's an interesting example, because when I was defending criminal cases as an attorney, I handled a lot of drug cases. And so I was dealing with addictions constantly and trying to get these people treatment and counseling. And, you know, you have the issue of relapse, and then you throw in mental illness in some of those cases. And it made it really tough to help these people. But I think it's interesting you bring up the topic of harmony, because I think a lot of times we fall out of touch with that, even in the sense of, well, and it's simple to restore. I mean, I think you can restore harmony by walking in nature outside or running or whatever, you know, getting back in touch with the natural world. Mm-hmm. I think that kind of does restore our sense of inner peace. And I've told people before, don't disturb my inner peace. And people have interpreted that differently. People don't know if you're joking or if you're serious. But I was being serious, and I guess, Joe and Christian, I'm interested in knowing, how do you deal with people who are disturbing your inner peace if they're not people that are asking you for help? I mean, setting aside people that you might be helping, but, you know, friends or family that are disturbing your inner peace, how do you how do you buffer yourself from what they're trying to do, or redirect them, or do you just move them to an outer circle of friends?
Well, yeah. So I think for me, it's pretty simple. It's the same way as finances. If you have too much money going out, you can either earn more or spend less. Those are your options. There aren't any of it. So you can protect yourself more or care less. If you have to be involved with somebody in a work environment that you can't get away from, and all of that sort of stuff, where you must deal with a person that does respond with negativity, recognize that they are wounded and starving and not criminals that need punished. And you also have to have some object constancy and integrity in your own sense of being, in that the outside world is not who defines you. True. You're defined by what you cultivate inside of yourself, entrepreneurial, and what you're trying to project. If you allow somebody to poison your waters, then you have boundary issues, because you're allowing that poison into your body, your ideological body. So, it's protect more or care less.
Yeah, it's tough to draw those boundaries if you're an empathetic person. I mean, that's. I guess
right. If you
struggle with that too. I figured
destructive giving right there. That's destructive giving.
Yeah, it does come down to what their intent is, and I think sometimes, I hate to say it, but I think sometimes their intent is just to drag us down. We all have people like that are. They love to push the limits and make us explode, and then giggle internally when we do that. And we don't need friends like that, do we? You're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
Joe's right, Jeremy. You're listening to him, and you're throwing up your defense. But at the end of the day, you're 100% responsible for yourself, right?
Yeah, and it's not easy though. It is not easy. I will grant that. I will grant that 100%. It is not easy to care less, especially if you are empathetic, but it is necessary, because it does. If you allow that in, it robs you of the energies that you would otherwise be able to cultivate, something positive with. So not only is your own energy diminished, but that which you would have to offer in terms of something of nourishing value is then robbed for all those people, where it would, in life, when you have a community, 1 + 1 does not make 2. It makes more than 2. Life is like that. It violates the rules of mathematics. So if somebody is robbing you of something that you have that is of nourishing value, then they're destroying the wealth. So if you can prevent that by caring less, it's your obligation to do that. You have to recognize that they are wounded and starving, and they're hurt people. If you give them the authority to hurt you, then you are robbing those who could benefit from you too.
And I think it's really difficult to do that in the workplace, especially, although I think that does force some of us to become entrepreneurs if we realize that all of our workplace influences are negative. I mean, aren't we better off being entrepreneurial, independent people at home that can at least protect that environment and keep it positive?
Well, I had something to contribute, Jeremy.
Ahead,
this is one thing I do. If you're a visual, person, so when I'm out, definitely running in nature is definitely harmonizes me and balances me, right? So I went running, but one thing about when I'm going running, I'm on a path and you're going to see different people. And I'm very empathetic, so I can normally sense how they feel, what they're thinking about me. So, but not to get too woo-woo, but so what I do is especially if it's a negative feeling that I'm getting, or even if you're just dealing with people who are negative in your life, I create a bubble around me. And I have a light in my heart that expands and fills. This is, I visualize, I push out to the edges of that bubble. And normally negative people, what they're doing is they're trying to hook something. So inside that bubble, to start to pull and connect, they have to have an energetic connection with you, right?
They're sending negative energy, right? Yes.
Yes, and that's that negative hook that's coming in, and your engagement with it is what gives it power. And this is what he's talking about, caring less, because. And so that I'm going to do two things. I'm going to give you the visualization, and then I'm going to give you the thinking that you can use. So basically, I use I create a bubble, create light, and just expand the light out to the edge of the bubble, right? And then So that's one way. Of course, grounding is very important too. You can ground yourself to the earth, taking a walk in nature, etc.
Sure.
Visualizing yourself, to the center of the earth and connecting with it. And so of course, the earth has the same sort of light heart as we do. And so the third one is, bringing it back to a more pragmatic way. Okay, what are the thoughts that this is causing, right? And so the thinking is the part where I think where you get the application of what Joe is saying. Okay, why should I respond to this? What, like you said, if they have a negative intention and your intention is positive, I read this book by Laura about, the strongest energy always wins. The positive energy is actually stronger. Your positive intent is actually stronger than their negative intent. So just back it with the positive, strong thoughts, like Joe was saying. What I'm doing in the world is more important than this. Start to, take it out of the context of this small world that the person is living in. The person is living in a small world where what they're going through is more important, and you have to identify with it. But you don't. Okay. Your world is bigger. Identify with your world and put it in, relation. Okay, what they're going through is important to them, but in relative context, what I'm doing is more important. And I'm sorry that they're going through that. And I've tried to help them. They're not interested in help. They're not interested in that. They're just, looking for a way to hurt somebody because they're hurting. And I can't involve myself with that right now, because what I'm doing is going to have a positive impact on the world, and I have to maintain myself. And so those are my, some of the things that I think, because I have people like that, and I try to get them back on the positive polarity, try to let them see the bright side of life. But a lot of times, like you said, they're not interested in that at the time. They just want to hurt, and they want you to join in this choir. And I'm like, well, I'm not in that choir. That's not my religion. So anyway, those are the.
Yeah, I think there's a developmental thing too. Is that if you don't get the right nurture in as particularly critical periods in your developmental environment, you can end up being particularly sensitive at those periods. They can echo powerfully for life. And so a person that needs to drain you in order to validate their own sense of existence, in order to try and expel their own pain of that loss and isolation, maybe at some point in their life, which they had in their pocket before they ever met you, and just keep echoing again and again caustically on their relationship landscape, are much like the baby that needs to drain milk in order to nourish themselves. And so they bring that negativity out in order to try and get the thing that they are so desperately missing. And so I go back again to this idea, and I think it's a valid one, that it is a wound and a starvation that generates this kind of an approach. It is not a criminal that needs punished. It is no one that has the authority to damage you. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't be affected by a hammer that gets swung or whatever, but emotionally recognizing that you are dealing with someone who is wounded emotionally, even though they might physically look normal, is the paradigm that really helped to change my capacity to not take it personally. And I don't mean that from a, some sort of this high horse ethereal thing. No, it really is true that these people are genuinely wounded, genuinely starving, and desperately trying to grab at the nourishment that they don't know how to claw at. If you're starving, you'll eat bark and dirt, and they're eating bark and dirt because they think that's all that's there. That's all they can see. And so, building that bridge to help them to see something else, well, that's another proposition. But feeling harmed by the attempt to drain you in order to feed them, that illusion that they're going to be fed by that is the thing that you need to cut off out of love and wean out of love, not out of any kind of, hatred, or they're not criminals that need punished. They are wounded and starving people who need healing and nourishment.
Do you think part of the problem is that we sometimes we lack emotional intelligence, or the people that we're helping are in some way, and they're trying to, I've noticed for myself, when I feel like I fall out of touch with that, I tend to struggle more. But if I'm more conscious of it and strengthening that part of myself, then I find that other people are relying upon that to, to be more positive or more resilient, stronger, etc. it seems like when we become adults, we seem to have this emotional intelligence deficit in some cases. And I think some of what I'm trying to do with the Positivity Patrol is to teach people who need help how to regain those positive elements of emotional intelligence and to make them strengths instead of weaknesses. I mean, if we're lacking that kind of center within our core, it just creates all kinds of problems, and they spill over into other aspects of emotional intelligence.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I do know that we do have this tendency with children to recognize intuitively that they need to have somebody that celebrates their success and
Sure.
and that what they do matters and all of that sort of thing. So if that does disappear at certain point in someone's life, then they do feel isolated and insecure and all of that sort of thing. And so positivity does work to bring healing to that, but there's a pitcher and a catcher. If somebody is that closed off that they cannot receive that, then turning away from that, and you have to decide at some point where to apply your energy, because there are some people that the option is to jump in the fire with them and consume yourself, or to apply your energies where they're going to bear fruit. That is the heartbreaking truth in some circles, I think.
Yeah, part of the reason I brought this up is a friend of mine is writing a book on, I think, on the how men deal with emotional intelligence issues, and I was one of the people selected to submit a short essay on emotional intelligence. So that'll be published in a book a little bit down the road. Marilyn Shannon is my friend who asked me to do that. So I've just become more interested in that myself, because I had to make certain shifts in that about a year ago. And once I did, it just seemed like things just took off and moved closer to the correct direction, instead of trying to treat everything like a shipwreck and a pity party and we play the victim card. I mean, I think of all these negative tricks that we have in our arsenal, and we have to really let go of those to be able to progress and live and grow, don't we? If we don't, we're kidding ourselves.
Yeah, I think it's a balance. Too much water. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, too much water can drown us, and not enough, of course, we die of thirst. So I think it is a balance that we need to not only be open to receive a certain amount of positive social nourishment from our surroundings, in addition to air and water and all that, but we also need to be able to contribute that in the context of the community. Otherwise, that's what cuts us off. We have to have that balance. So every atom in our body is hungry for a specific kind of relationship. And if it can be overwhelmed, which shatters the bonds, or it can be underwhelmed, which actually severs those bonds. They never form. So that is in essence what teaches us what we need in terms of navigating our social environment. So I think balance is the key. And emotional intelligence is the recognition of the need for that balance and how to cultivate that on our social landscape. We are all tenders of the garden.
Most definitely.
Go ahead, Christian.
No, I was just going to say that in my experience, it does take a little bit of tough love with people who are needing stuff, that positive energy from you all the time, and they're basically, you got to understand, at least because I made this mistake myself. I wanted to be giving. I wanted to give love. I was raised in the church. That's what they supposed to, they trained me to do, always give this positive, loving energy to people. And then, but then it's kind of like I got these vampires following me around, sucking me of all my energy, until I go home and cry myself to sleep. So it's like, okay, something's not working here, And so what is the problem? And then when I started to understand, okay, I got to protect my energy. I got to keep myself strong. And it's just, okay, I had to try to teach them how to tap into this energy themselves. right?
Mhm.
You know, yeah, of course I got a limitless supply, but no, not really. At the end, you know, I'm still a human, you know.
Mhm.
So it's like, okay, you got to learn how to tap into it yourself. Now, I'm going to try to give you some techniques and suggestions to tap into it yourself. And of course, most of the people I'm talking about, I couldn't speak to them like this, but this is what I was doing. You know, try to get them on the positivity, try to change their mindset. And, but at the end of the day, if they didn't want to change bad enough, or they just grow so dependent and they still want that, I just had to start shutting them down. Like, no, you know, I'm not going to answer your call. You know, we've already talked once this week. I hope you listened to what I said at first time, you know, and then retrain people how to deal with you. Either they have to change the way that they're going to interact with you, or they're not allowed, you know, in your life. And at least for me, I just had to say, okay, this person not allowed in my life anymore, because I, you know, and I had to take that responsibility that I did let them become dependent. You know, I kept tabs on him though, and he did change his way. You know, he changed, like, it was like all the seeds I planted began to grow when I stopped, you know, being that crutch for him, you know. And so that, I'm just saying this, you know, for, you know, some people may feel like, oh, I feel so bad. And I did feel bad for a while, you know, but that uplifted me, you know, once I recognized that the ideas that I gave actually were able to grow once they, you know, once you took the training wheels off. You know, it's like if your brother teach you how to fight, you know, eventually you got to have to go to school by yourself and handle business. So
True.
But you know, I definitely want to learn more about emotional intelligence. I think that, you know, how I think about it is like awareness, right? You know, you're mindful of how you feel, how you're reacting to things, and
a lot of it is mindfulness and trying to act instead of react so much, or react in a basic way without overreacting, and that's a tough thing for a lot of us that have, you know, depending on someone's temperament. I mean, some people they get angry, they get fiery tempers. I mean, and all of us have to learn how to deal with these people effectively. And Christian, I can relate to what you've said. I have people in my life that have taken advantage of my generosity and trying to contact me every 2 minutes with questions. And I someone that, you know, I'm not related to, you know, on a every 2 minutes basis. That's just it's not healthy. I have too many other people that need my help. And so giving all of that to one person every 2 minutes that isn't someone that's, you know, my wife or something. I mean, I obviously do respond whenever we communicate. We have to have an effective, healthy marriage. But, you know, otherwise I look at how many people could I serve, and that I'm not serving as many people as I'd like to, and figuring out how to leverage my time, my experience, and my knowledge, and be able to provide more of that virtually, but not, you know, not to such an extent that by giving advice to someone every 2 minutes that I'm robbing 88 other people that want to get my help somehow.
And you're doing them a disservice. They have to learn how to walk, you know. If you carry your baby everywhere all the time, they're never going to learn how to walk, you know. And so it's, you know, of course they're going to want that immediate gratification, but no, let them crawl around, let them, you know, fall down, let them learn, you know. And like you say, you got to, it's wisdom, you know. At the end of the day, it's like, okay, this is a learning experience, you know. I understand I had good intention, and now this experience has given me more wisdom of how to, you know, be a better teacher. That's what you're talking about, being a better teacher, being a better coach, you know, actually getting the person to a point where they're better. You know, I think a lot of times some coaches just let's just make them get this result, you know, and they're doing it because you're giving them step-by-steps and all this other stuff, and which is good. But at the end of the day, you want them to be able to do the next time they want a result, the next time they want to reach a goal, to be able to do it themselves. You know?
And to recognize when people are asking us to do things that are healthy for a healthy relationship, and to recognize when they're trying to manipulate us and where things are getting unhealthy and one-sided. And, you know, let's face it, we can all only give so much. We all have limits, and we have to figure out what those are and what those healthy limits and boundaries are, while still being able to provide the best customer care and help for people that need it without, robbing anyone that we could otherwise help if we're not giving it all to one person that's manipulating us or attempting to manipulate us. So, I mean, that's something that we as coaches struggle with, because we do have people that try to take advantage of us, and we help them so far, and then they want us to go further and further. And then we have to look at the rest of our clients and customers and see, can I really be able to talk to this person every 2 minutes if I have these other 10 people I've got to be able to help in a meaningful way? And maybe some of that can happen through a mastermind to allow, the help to occur, and, still being able to provide some of it in person if we have people that are close to us locally. I think we need to not lose sight of that we are going to have people that are within our locality, geographical area, state, country, that want our help in person, and then others that might be more remote, and we have to figure out how to deliver that help and provide that coaching, education, frienducation in a meaningful, powerful, transformational way.
Yeah, I think what both of you are talking about is really on target there. If you help a chick out of the egg, they die. And if you don't, if they don't have the right temperature and environment, and also they die. So there are certain requirements that have to happen, and some of it has to do with mitigating too much help. So struggle in the right measure is necessary for people to grow. The womb that feeds us to a certain point will strangle us if we don't get out through that bloody and painful birth process. So again, it's balance.
Right.
And I was listening to a couple coaches, I think last night, coach each other. And I think that's something, coaches need to recharge, they give.
True. Yeah,
and
I said that.
Yeah, because I don't think we're going to have you're going to deal with people who are going to need all the time, especially when you deal with coaches. But, definitely once a week or every couple of days or whatever, however often you guys meet, it's definitely allowing the coaches to kind of recharge each other. It's, everyone pours in and everyone gets to eat it. It's like a potluck, and so, I think.
Good idea.
Great idea. That, it's like a potluck of coaches, and we're all or people giving frienducation. And so, like in my circle, I don't definitely have no takers in my circle. If you're just a taker, you're not in my circle. You're somebody who I may serve and try to teach on how to live a more balanced life. But as far as being in my immediate circle, it's just something that I can't have.
Sure. And it's hard to identify those people because some of them hide that motive when we first meet them, or they try to keep it hidden, and then it just slips out sometimes. or we recognize that, they're the people that, I just have a quick question. You hear that 89 times from the same person, whoa, wait a minute, time out. I have other people that have not so quick a question that, and if a quick question, that's just something we as attorneys, we hear that all the time. We get clients calling us saying, I just have a quick question. And then 3 hours later, you realize, oh my goodness, that was not a quick question. My answer was too verbose, which means that we as attorneys should be briefer, should work on our brevity ability. But
eloquence, that's what the word I like.
True.
Do not forget to breathe in. Hey, Joe, what are you writing over there?
I'm trying to write. I'm failing at it. If you're in the profession of breathing out in some way, shape, or form, don't forget to breathe in. And so what you were talking about of going and finding the people who nourish you as opposed to draw from you is critical. That's the way it has to work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I failed at writing that twice.
Yeah, that's a great one-word advice for each other that we forget. To breathe in, to breathe correctly, and to not take all these shallow breaths that cause other problems in our bodies. I mean, they get our.
Oh, not only that, it's nostrils too. Your nostril dominance. If you're on the right-hand side, it will raise your glucose levels and blah. If you're on the left. I mean, there's scientific studies they've done to investigate how the dominance of one nostril can actually lead over time to certain pathogens.
Oh, I thought you were just talking about nasal breathing in general. I haven't heard of this,
No.
of the nostril discrepancy. That is interesting. I'll have to look into that a little more. But yeah, we forget to breathe, or we're breathing too shallowly. We get stressed out, and we don't take the time. We don't take the time to take 1 to 5 minutes to breathe deeply, to meditate. My friend Austin Go, who's on this channel and also on Blab and also on Meerkat, he reminds us frequently that we can meditate in 1 minute. That you can reflect internally on your heart and breathe deeply. And, we get so caught up in, my timer says that I have to meditate for 15 minutes. And if I don't meditate for 15 minutes, it's not meaningful. And that's not true. I mean, we can meditate in less time than that. And that's something that meditation can be taught. It's difficult, but I think it can be taught. And if it's taught by people that know what they're doing, it's very powerful. I mean, if you can get to the point where you can create that internal peace and calm state within ourselves, we're, becoming stoic, regardless of our personality, becoming stoic, calm enough to deal with life, and slowing down, not taking everything too fast and rushing off in 20 different directions. But if we can do that and teach that to each other, I think, meditation's already being taught around the world. You just look at what's going around on Blab, on Periscope, on Meerkat, on YouTube. I mean, you type in meditation. Sorry, my wife is a pharmacist, so that was an expected slip. You're going to hear from time to time.
Freudian slip.
Meditation, if you type it into a search bar, you're going to find thousands or millions of results. And how do you navigate good meditators from bad ones, good teachers from bad ones? But that's a challenge that we have with these virtual teaching platforms, and being able to sort out who are the best teachers, who are the best coaches, who are the master level people that can deliver premium content, leverage to provide that help to as many people as possible. And I guess we'd have to come up with some kind of mechanism or testing schema to figure out who those people are. They demonstrate their competency through books, teaching, other formats, but we have to figure out who those best folks are, so we can create a best practices of how coaches should operate, how teachers or virtual professors should operate. I think we talk about college professors and things like that, but I think a lot of education, it's going virtual. And it's going virtual in a unique way where it's not necessarily provided by a professor, it's provided by friends of ours. And in some cases, maybe people that are more like acquaintances. But I think it is possible through this platform to become quick friends with a lot of people that are delivering high quality content. So, and I think if we all do that, we can just learn so much more and be stronger people in a transformational way.
While you were talking about meditation, I was thinking, because I studied a whole lot of different kinds of meditation, and at the end of the day, the solution that I found is the result, right? What is the result? What is the desired result of meditation? Because everyone, you got so many different systems of meditation, and at the end, I was trying, am I, like you said, am I doing this right? Did I do it long enough? Did I hold this one thought in my mind without any intrusion for long enough, and it became an efforting thing, right? And that's kind of like the opposite desired result of meditation. And so I basically tailored everything I was learning till I got the result that, they said meditation was supposed to produce, that peace of mind, that control of mind, that ability to clear your thoughts at will, and so it becomes, and it did take practice, but, it's actually it's normally a whole lot simpler than all the complex teachings are giving you. And I think the reason for that is the complexity of the teaching gives the instructor more clout or more, power over the students. and because they need that teacher now to continually feed them this information, when at the end of the day, like I said, you're starting to learn me a little bit, is that I want the student to actually become the master himself, not to be able to need the teacher all the time, And so anyway, breathing, to me, that's the foundation of meditation. If you can just focus on your breath, and breathe deeply, eventually you get there. I can't give a class on meditation now, but and that goes to anything you're learning. That's how I research. You're looking for the testimonials, the results are there provable results for your system. If you're able to demonstrate results, then I'm able to listen to you, because like you say, education is moving beyond the professor. You don't have to go to school for 15 years anymore to teach a class. You got Udemy, you got Blab, you got everybody is now a master. And I'm listening, I got 1,000 people on my Twitter feed telling me they're all, social media experts. I'm like, I didn't know I need to learn that much social media. But anyway, it's like, where do these guys go to school? And none of them, they just got a, guide from somebody else. Now they're teaching it. And now, it's like, well, and then I look at, so there's this lady on Periscope teaching this morning about social media and using Periscope, and she only had 3 people on her scope. I'm like, what you're saying sounds good, but why are you delivering at 8 o'clock in the morning? Why do you only have 3 people in your scope, and you're trying to teach me about how to use Twitter and scope and all that other stuff? So your results are not demonstrating that you have the skill to, that you actually know what you're talking about, And so I think
now you make me feel bad.
Why?
Because I don't get that many people on my scopes, and you know what I do.
But you're not a scope teacher. You're a laughter teacher.
That's true.
Right?
Okay.
So you're it's not about you. You have me laughing, so you know how to get that laughter going and keep it going. So you have that skill.
You just have to find the optimal laughter times of each day. And I don't know what times those are. That's,
But to be honest with you, everyone needs to be wearing their smile and their laughter more, regardless. Humanity's sake, you can talk, Joe. You don't have to type.
Yes, I am aware. I was not going to interrupt. Yes, you still can't see my smile because I wasn't able to get the camera thing resolved. But
type a smile in the chat, and we'll take a virtual one to represent your actual.
There we go. So I'm going to have to emote on the side.
Yeah, do your best.
Okay.
So this has been a really good conversation. I've enjoyed speaking back and forth here, and I think you're onto something that certainly the world needs more of. And I'm hoping that it gains more traction because I get to then live in a world that generates that kind of wealth. So I appreciate it.
Well, let's bring more smiles and laughter. And if you want, you can laugh with me tonight.
All right. What time?
Actually, 8 p.m. Okay. Jeremy, can I put the link in?
Yes.
I don't want to be a pain.
No, go ahead. Is it? It's 8 Eastern, right?
It's 8 o'clock. Oh, you know about it.
No, I'm Central. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, it's 8 Eastern.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we are going to be doing a complete laughter meditation, and all that information is on my Facebook page.
Okay. How long do you think that'll go, Carla?
No more than an hour.
Okay.
Maybe a tiny bit longer. It depends on the questions.
Sure.
I am doing it as a conference call, actually. So it'll be interesting because I won't be able to see anyone's face, but I'd like people to join in. It's going to be fun.
Sure. Are any of you using Zoom much as a platform?
No.
I'm just learning how to use it now, and I'm trying to learn it a little better because I have people that need my help that I'm trying to figure out how to deliver it so I'm not having to do it all individually, to be able to leverage some of it so I can, maybe teach a running class or health coach class or something like that, but to be able to do it in a group setting instead of having to teach each individual the same content. And then you get collective questions at the same time. But go ahead, Carla.
Skype is good for that because you can actually have up to 9 locations, but the free conference call, you can have many more than that.
Okay.
You can have as many as call in.
Yeah, I use Google Hangouts a lot, and the reason I do is because it automatically goes to your YouTube page.
Sure.
And B, you can make it an unlisted so that the people that did it and participated can go back and watch it again, and see, you can make it a live hangout on air that's not broadcast to anybody, so you can actually have a private room. And so it just entertains some options that way. I mean, I'm not a Google evangelist by any stretch. I'm just saying I'm familiar with the platform. It works.
I used to be until Blab showed up, and that just, I've been on too many Google Plus Hangouts where you get kicked out for, I don't know, technology reasons. Breathing the wrong way, moving your computer in the wrong direction.
Right.
I don't know how to explain all the hiccups, but Google Hangouts has some technology issues, and if the platform is indeed down today, which is what I'm hearing from my email, that's a problem. And
that's not down for me, so I don't know if it's local or whatever.
Maybe it was just for this one user coach. She said, I was trying to teach you something by Google Plus Hangouts, but it's down today for me, and so I think she was going to try to do it by some kind of free conference call setting or setup. So I should have just responded and said, do it by Blab. See who shows up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the main.
Well, I like Blab for that reason.
The only thing I feel that Blab is missing, which I think they are working on, is the ability to share a PowerPoint or something like that. If you want to give a presentation to the group and put some graphic in there. I actually saw one guy, he was putting all kind of weird graphics up. I don't know what kind of technology he was using.
Manycam. Yes, Manycam.
Okay.
Yeah, I could, you know what? I wonder if that's why. I wonder if it's hooked to my Manycam. I'm going to check that right now.
I didn't think of that. I'm glad.
That's it. See that? Welcome.
Oh,
hey!
You're
now you get a lot more props.
I am a real person, able to smile. So,
are you located? Where are you located in the U.S.?
I'm in the East Coast of Virginia.
Oh, I'm in the D.C. area.
Oh, well, hi, neighbor. Well, I'm way south, so I'm almost to Tennessee.
That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Post-Blab meetup somewhere.
Yeah. Well,
sure
DC is like 4 hours away from me. So.
Yeah, I'm not coming anytime soon at this point. Yeah. Unless I brought my puppy.
So
the cats would be happy, but
Joe, what did you have to do? Just disable Manycam?
No, I just started Manycam because that's what this thing was trained to see. Now let me just show you. Let me find it. Just some media file or whatever.
How do you spell that, man?
Many, yeah, CAM.
Okay.
It's two N's or just one?
No, one Manycam. One. Okay. Yeah, Manycam.
Oh, like many, like a lot. Okay.
Yeah, a lot. Mm-hmm.
Got it. All right, let's see.
I don't know why. I thought it had two N's, but maybe some people have been misspelling it or something.
So you see, I changed my thing to a GIF, and that's an awful GIF. But so I apologize for that. Let me get that back to the camera. Anyway,
yeah, I heard there's a lot you can do with Manycam.
Yeah, you can put a YouTube URL in there. You can
click here.
You can put your own,
yeah,
cartoons. That's
Oh
good.
yeah. So.
Oh, that's a good one. I had somebody tell me that a while back. You need to change your attitude. And I was talking about how the tone of voice makes such a difference, and I was like, "Oh no, I wanted to fight an argument with this person."
Prosody there's a great difference between good morning and good morning. Prosody makes a large difference.
Yeah. So I see they got a free. I'm there now. I'm about to download this.
That is what I'm using right now, the free version. The paid version is not all that expensive either, but it's just limited in what you can do with the free version. You can string a whole bunch of gifts together and whatever if you want to do the paid version, and the free version only allows you a limited amount. It's that sort of thing. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you what's the alternative to using ManyCam? Isn't there a alternative? I'm trying to think of what it's called.
I can't remember the alternative to.
I think ManyCam seems to be the dominant one for blabbers anyway. From what I'm hearing, maybe some people aren't reading which video device they're using, but ManyCam. I'm just amazed to see what you can do with it. I've had a couple people show me a couple things, and wow, very impressive.
Now, if you have a Mac, you have to use some other program. I forget what it is.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's what I have.
They got. It looked like they had something.
Oh, yeah, there is a Mac version of ManyCam.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there is now. Someone was telling me. I haven't downloaded it yet.
And haven't there have been blabs on, hey, come join my ManyCam test or show me how to use ManyCam? You can teach people how to use that by blab, can't you, Joe? Don't you think?
Well, that's $10 an hour work for a $100 an hour guy. Trust me. Yeah,
okay.
I'm not doing that. So, yeah, but you could use it for. Carla, you could use it for your laugh. Let me give you a. Yeah, there you go. This is the baby simulator 2.0, the baby eating simulator 2.0.
And that's from ManyCam?
I am just switching between screens on ManyCam. It allows you to queue something up while you're doing something else. And so my camera is on, but that picture is over. Now I can switch it over right now, and there it goes to the picture. So,
wow,
it's throwing that up on screen. I can go back, and then I can change that picture, for instance. So I am teaching ManyCam, doing the $10 an hour work, but I like you all. Okay. So,
oh, good.
But we appreciate that. I've seen people use it to even show like Australian TV. I don't know how else you could show the screen like that or video. But,
right.
Babies and children know how to laugh correctly.
Yeah. But you know why? They have not been taught all the no's. And we need to stop saying, once we start saying no, no, no to a kid, they lose their innocence.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's how you say no and what you're saying no to, too. No, I'm not going to pay attention to you is different than no, don't touch that hot stove. So.
Yeah.
Well,
no, I agree. But many children these days are being raised by children. And that is an issue. And I, as a special ed teacher, believe me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to. I think we all have to remember to play, and that's something that maybe kids can teach adults. Maybe adults can teach adults. I don't know. Maybe some adults aren't qualified to teach other adults how to play if we become too serious or something like that. But
well, even in the schools, they've forgotten how to teach kids about human values. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to get on it because I really could hijack
Yeah, don't do that, because it's been a good discussion of, any of us can have a blab on any topic pretty much, as long as it's positive.
But that's why I don't want to get into it, but I just wanted to say the schools are not in good shape.
Yeah.
The schools need to go back to teaching kids to play, to have fun, and
look at all that opportunity.
On a positive note, I was on a blab. The guy, he was talking about schools are teaching meditation, mindfulness meditation, and really getting. There's
some really good things being taught in the schools now, but it's hard to get in because of No Child Left Behind. The public schools are rather limited in what they can do because they're into getting the test.
Yeah, all the standardized testing and everything, but things will change. Change is always happening. I was running when I was running. The thought was chaos is a prelude to a higher order. So
absolutely,
things are always when your life is getting chaos, or you see things out in the world that are in a disturbed state. If you think about it that way, recognition that when it comes, order is going to come back. Order is the order of the universe. Well-being is the order of the universe. If not, we'd all be bouncing. The planets be bouncing off each other, right? And so we know eventually, it's going to balance out in a harmonic way. But we just have to go through it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Well,
I'm not arguing that.
Anyone have any closing thoughts or anything like that? I was going to maybe wrap this up shortly.
The only thing I have to say is that we all swim in the same pond. Let's act like it. And our tribe is Earth.
And also, everyone breathes the same air. I don't care if you're in India or if you're here or wherever you are. We're all made up of oxygen, and it's all the same. And if we could only recognize that we may look different, but we are really all the same, it could change things tremendously.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Well, I think, my last thought was a good one, but I just wanted to say, one paradigm I would like to get out of that is that of competition, especially if you're out here serving the world, even if in business or not, there is no competition. There's more than enough, need for positive change, and however you're delivering it, you're unique and nobody's really in competition with you. It's all about being better, doing yourself better. And that's what, the reason I'm saying this, when we think about Frienducation, a lot of times people don't want to give value to other people because they're like, oh, they're my competition. Well, no, they're not your competition. They're just somebody else that is trying to help the world in maybe a similar way. But there's 6 billion people on the earth, and there's more than enough people for all of us to help. So.
Yeah, I think we all need to recognize that everyone in the world needs friends, and that we may be the people asked to be their friend, or we may be the best fit for them to be a friend, and to really teach them what we know with generosity and, as abundantly and boundlessly as we can, as long as it's a healthy relationship, and to keep it positive, really to be a positive force in the world, and to try to teach positivity to everyone and keep everyone in the positive polarity. And I think if we do that, we can align people to work together, create a positivity army, and send that army around the world to help people that need it. There are enough people struggling with all types of problems, chaos, challenges, anxiety, stress, depression, mental illness, other change of career, change of location, and unable to find friends or people that can help others in a meaningful way. And I think we need to recognize that in a lot of cases, we are the people asked to do that. And so we need to step up, help people learn what we know, be willing to teach it as a coach or teacher, instructor, and recognize that some of us have specific knowledge that could provide master level teaching to get people to have the right mindset, motivation, to have a positive mental attitude, and to make that a contagious force, spreading positivity like wildfire throughout the world. That's my dream.
My dream is that we begin fighting wars with a smile, a giggle and chuckle, and some laughter.
Well put, Carla. Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for hosting, Jeremy.
You're welcome. Thanks, Joe and Christian, Carla, for joining us, and thanks everyone else for being here. I know Natalie was here a little earlier. Thank you, Renee, joining us from Canada. It's exciting to see people from other countries and see where they are and whether they're in our time zones or not. So I just want to thank all of you for your participation. I expect that Frienducation is going to be a big topic, and that this platform is going to be a big part of teaching people how to improve their lives, and also being able to show people other additional premium content that might be present on Udemy, Lead Pages, other sites like that, or in books that some of us might publish. So, stay tuned for more, and please pass the positivity. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.